Slavery in Indian Territory. Like most people uprooted by the Cherokee Trail of Tears, Eliza Whitmire experienced terrible trauma. In 1830, the U.S. government passed the Indian Removal Act. Eliza was about 5 years old when more than 3,000 armed militia arrived in Cherokee country in 1838. The militia companies forced her, her family, and her community to march more than 1,000 miles west through northern Georgia, across the Ohio and Mississippi rivers to present-day Oklahoma. Her mother described the bitter memory of women and children driven from their homes, sometimes with blows. It was a time filled with horror and suffering for the unfortunate Cherokee and their slaves, as Eliza later recalled. Eliza and her family were among those enslaved people. Their removal story differs slightly from traditional Trail of Tears narratives because they were of African descent, enslaved and forcibly removed along with their Cherokee owners. In the 1830s, African American slavery was established in the Indian Territory, the region that would become Oklahoma. By the late 18th century, when more than 500,000 Africans were enslaved in the South, the 5 Southern Indian societies of that region, Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole, had come to include both enslaved blacks and small numbers of free African Americans. American Indians brought their slaves to the West in the 1830s and 1840s when the federal government removed the nations from the southern states. The Cherokee, with more than 1,500, had the largest number. Slave populations removed with the other nations ranged from approximately 300 in the Creek Nation to more than 1,200 in the Chickasaw Nation. In Indian Territory, both blacks and Indians endured the harsh conditions, disease, and deprivation of removal. Black slaves performed much of the physical labor involved in removal. For example, they loaded wagons, cleared the roads, and led the teams of livestock along the way. When the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole people settled in their new homes, they reestablished their national governments and passed slave codes that protected owners' property rights in enslaved people and restricted slaves' rights.